I'd like to make myself and introduce my colleagues to you that are here today to give you information, and I'll start please with Simone.
Morning everyone, my name's Simone Rebello. I'm the Deputy Head of the school. I'm also Director of Percussion. Looking forward very much to seeing everyone who's coming to the percussion session a little bit later on today. Hope you enjoy your day with us at the RNCM. Thank you.
Good morning everyone, my name's Kevin Gowland. I'm Deputy Head of School and Director of Woodwind. And like Simone, I'm looking forward to seeing potential Woodwind students this afternoon at the 3:15 session.
Good morning everybody, my name's David Thornton. I'm Senior Tutor in Brass Bands, and again I've got a session a little bit later on directly related to such matters, but I hope you have a fantastic day, and looking forward to meeting as many people as possible.
And finally, my name is Rob Buckland. I am a senior saxophone tutor at the college and also deputy head of chamber music, looking after all the wind and percussion groups. I saw lots of you this morning in our session earlier on, so I'll be here filling in all the blanks on those areas.
Great, thank you. So we're here today to give you information on becoming a student at the Royal Northern College of Music and an understanding of what a prospective student here can expect. SWBP is the largest school in the college, with just under 200 students currently, across 13 disciplines. And the school is responsible for all of your activities and outcomes in performance during your programme of study. The training you'll receive is designed to enable you to develop your musicianship and personal skills to your full potential, and to give an understanding of the skills you'll need to pursue a professional career in music and the arts in the UK or overseas. We'll give you training to enable you to be highly skilled in your principal study, but also to be a versatile, well-rounded and industry-ready musician. We expect that by the time you graduate from RNCM, you will have a thorough understanding of the physiology, neurology, psychology necessary for peak performance in your instrument, and a kind of a practice that gives you a long and healthy career. As a school, we work to do this through evidence-led methodologies, and for wind and brass, our teaching is focused around the principles of song and wind. I don't know if you've come across that before. It's a methodology that was formalized by a great tuba player, long time in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and great pedagogue, Arnold Jacobs. There's a book called Song and Wind that our methods are mostly based in. Delivery of training centered on really intensive individual training with one-to-one tuition with a dedicated team of world-class practitioners in your discipline. That's supplemented by masterclasses with international artists and a whole stream of international visiting artists and tutors that come into college on a regular basis. One-to-one tuitions blended with class. We find class activities enable students to share learning experiences, to perform to their peers, to hear peer review and feedback, and to learn to give constructive critical analysis to each other. We hope that it creates a competitive but supportive environment. Every student has the opportunity to develop associated skills on doubling instruments, such as in brass, it's period instruments mostly, or an associated jazz instrument, and to have tuition on that throughout the period of their study. Classes also are a key ingredient in the school for us to build our community. We want students to understand that contribution is important to us, and to also to get a grasp of the idea that contribution brings virtual loops. So the more you contribute, the more the whole group advances, and that's really important to us. In SWBP, we believe in developing students' self-determination and even before you get through the door, you would be asked through a mechanism that we run on our intranet system called Moodle, for you to go on and learn about our staff and to make choices about who you would like to learn with your principal study. For a new intake student, that actually is a preference, but from year 2 these become firm choices. So you will get the teacher that you want, unless that teacher is oversubscribed or not available to teach the number of hours that there's a demand for them. Still people coming in the room, but I'll keep going. Lesson 1 project and the learning contract. A kind of real clear goal orientated learning is what we would like to achieve. And to start that process, every student within the first couple of weeks of the first term of the year will take a very basic skills test. It doesn't impact on your degree, but it informs you and your principal study tutor of areas for future work. And in drawing together a learning contract, we hope that you will have agreed pathways for learning and agree on the material that you're going to focus on through the term. Through the whole year, actually. That can be reviewed as we go. The tool on Moodle is open, and you can, and staff and students can update it and make notes that we hope they refer to in their learning over the year. And from next year, we're going to put in another stage in that, which will be kind of a critical analysis report from the students on how they progress through the year and how it might inform the following year's study. Ensemble training forms a huge part of the experience at RNCM, and students, all of our students, can expect to be engaged in large ensembles right from the beginning of their studies. The training in this is across all genres, and it could encompass anything from symphony orchestra, chamber orchestra, big band, session orchestra, brass band, symphonic wind bands, jazz collective, baroque orchestra, composer ensemble and arc ensemble. More of that later from Rob. All of these ensembles are project based, and in SWBP we try to make around 50% of the larger, what maybe the more prestigious events, they're seated by screened auditions. This is open to entry for all year groups, so if you're good enough and you win the audition, the seat's yours. The remaining projects are allocated on a kind of equal opportunity basis, and that works through a grid system that's organised so that every student has, over the course of 4 years, a very similar number of projects in principal seats or supporting roles. Chamber music is a really key part of what we do in SWBP. We believe it's a kind of foundation for training in ensembles, and many of our students have formed really successful groups in college that go on really to fill their careers with music making, and they're really good. The A4 brass is a typical example of that. If you're a brass player, particularly if you're a brass band related player, you will know them, but they're not limited just to brass band. To tell you a little bit more about chamber music, I'm going to ask Rob Buckland to come in as Deputy Head of Chamber Music, who's responsible for looking after the chamber music for students in SWBP. But first of all, I'd like to play you a short clip of one of our groups called All Saints Brass. And this is a short recording they did as for their application to the inaugural, last year, the first International Philip Jones Brass Chamber Music competition. And actually, following on from this, they were finalists. They were in the last 4, I think it was, for this competition. So I'm going to try to share my screen with you, hopefully successfully, and play for you something from All Saints Brass. This is Jive by Paul Nagel. Thank you, All Saints. Rob, over to you.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Some of you will have already heard me talk about some of this in the chamber music session earlier, but I appreciate all of you might not have been there. Also, sorry about the knocking through the wall. My neighbour appears to be having some DIY done just as I'm talking to you, which is delightful. So chamber music is, you could argue, the biggest school at the RNCM. We have over 800 students taking part in chamber music, but the chamber music programme works horizontally, so all of the students from all of the various schools take part in different combinations of groups. Chamber music is a compulsory activity for first and second year students, and on arrival at the RNCM in induction, although probably this year in our slightly online world it'll be slightly later than that, all students are streamed through some auditions at the beginning of the year where we hear everybody and try and place you all into chamber groups that start you off on your chamber music journey. There are over 2,000 hours of chamber music coaching classes and competitions available across the academic year to all students across the college. And these hours are offered up on Moodle for students to sign up for a variety of coaching experiences with tutors, not just from wind and percussion, but as the group starts to really develop, to work with string coaches and voice coaches as well, to kind of broaden their perspective on their chamber studies. There are various competitions throughout the year that the groups can take part in, culminating in the Chris Rowland Prize, Chamber Ensemble of the Year Prize at the end of the year. And most of the learning you do in your chamber groups is what we would call peer-led. So you would be in charge of your own group, and you will be coaching, taking criticism and offering criticism of each other, your own repertoire selection and guidance with your tutors. It really helps you to develop the skills you're going to need as a professional musician going into a sort of portfolio career. So you look after the whole side of the group, the management, the rehearsal, scheduling, and then check in with the tutors for coaching throughout the year. There are a wide number of spotlight concerts and lunchtime concerts in our programme that you're allowed to offer your programmes to the programming team for, to give you public performances in front of often 200 or 300 people in our concert hall, all of which can be recorded for you. And any successful groups that really kind of make the chamber activities part of their lives, like the All Saints Brass that we just saw, soon gravitate onto our external engagements list, and we have an in-the-building agency that set up professional performances for students, usually in the latter part of their course, so third and fourth years and master's students, to go and take up paid professional work in music societies and festivals and education opportunities right across the country. Lots of the groups that start off at the RNCM use that as a kind of a bridge into the profession, as something they can take with them that's already up and running as they leave college and start their professional careers. We're also the only UK partner in ECMA, the European Chamber Music Academy. And for any successful groups involved in that programme, there are all sorts of exchange opportunities in all sorts of countries all over Europe. And it's one of the most important aspects of what you will do at college. It's the chance for you to take all of the skills you learn in your individual lessons and larger ensembles, put those together in a peer-led group that you're in charge of, that you very much take the own direction in your learning. That'll do for now.
Thank you, Rob. That's great. So SWB paid 200 students, and we're kind of we're organised into three distinct departments. Woodwind with Kevin, Simone with percussion, and myself largely kind of organising the brass. So I'd now like to ask Kevin, please, to come and tell us a little bit about activities in Woodwind.
Thanks, Nick. So the Woodwind School, we currently have about 80 students from many different countries all over the world, and probably 35, 40 staff. We're a very, very busy department. We work very closely with chamber music. Rob was saying that in your first year, you will come and we put you in a group. I'm on the panel with Rob, and it gives me a really good idea to refresh my memory from the auditions. I will be on the auditions for all Woodwind applicants, and this is something that I follow through, not only on audition panels, but techniques, exams, recitals. I'm always on the panel for Woodwind. We've got some very fine chamber music groups in the Woodwind School. I'm sure some of you will have heard some appearances recently on RNCM Live from Paramount Wind, Cora Flute Quartet, the newly formed flute choir. We just started a flute choir last year with all 26 members of the flute students in that group, and they've all played RNCM Live. The next clip that you're going to hear from a group that was formed fairly recently, last year. They made their debut concert in the Offer Holders recital, and as a result they got onto the external list, which Rob has been talking about, and they're now firmly established as one of the strong chamber groups performing at lots of music clubs and societies all over the Northwest. This particular quintet is called Tempest Quintet, and for those of you who are coming to the afternoon session with me, there'll be 3 members of the quintet there to answer any questions that you might have to put to students. So here is Tempest Ensemble playing the first part of the first movement of Francais Wind Quintet.
Terrific. So now over to Simone, please, to talk a little bit about the percussion group, and then we'll have a little video from them at the end, please.
So hi again, everyone. The percussion department is a large and busy department. We are 20 students at the moment, and the students are coming from all around the world. Currently, we have students from Europe, China, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. We have 8 staff. for percussion because the students have to work with the staff that are specialists in the various areas of the programme, for example, kit and Latin music with Dave Hassel and our timpani professor, Ian Wright. Something that we're very keen on in the school is side-by-side projects of staff working alongside students. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that in my presentation for the percussionists a bit later on. But just to show you an example of this, we've got a clip here that shows the RNCM Percussion Ensemble on their first tour to China in the summer of 2019. For that particular tour, the members of the ensemble were chosen by audition. That was open to the whole percussion department, whether they were first years or postgrads. And my colleague, Li Yu, who is the Deputy Director of Percussion, took 6 students over to China to take part in a very extended tour around lots of exciting venues in China, including, we're going to see here, the finale from their concert at the Forbidden City Concert Hall in Beijing. And Leo played alongside the students for the majority of the programs. So we're going to see a clip here from the finale from the concert from the RNCM Percussion Ensemble in the Forbidden City Concert Hall in Beijing.
Good, thanks, Simone. So the other part of our SWVP school is the brass department, which are largely looked after by me with help from Simone quite a lot, actually. I'll just tell you a little bit about the brass department. Methodology that we teach is focused around song and wind, as I said earlier, and that's very important for us. We believe in it as a kind of evidence-led methodology. And as part of that drive towards a healthy and evidence-led methodology, we have, as part of our international chairs support at RNCM, we have Christian Steenstrup, who's author of the book Teaching Brass and probably one of the world's leading pedagogues in brass and wind playing. Christian comes over a couple of times a year, 2 or 3 times a year actually, to teach our students and actually to help staff and inform staff as well, so that we know that we're working in kind of cutting edge methodologies. The skills that we teach our students in brass are very broad based. We would expect a typical brass student to be involved in period instrument performance. You would be assessed on that actually in your 2nd year as a trumpet, trombone or French horn player. And then from then on you can diversify, you can study jazz or electronics or contemporary music, wherever your interests lie. There are regular symphonic brass ensemble projects. Very often they're collaborative. Last November we had the students and staff from the Royal Conservatoire in Oslo visit us and a concert in our wonderful concert hall, which unfortunately you can't see today. Hopefully you'll get online to see some of the pictures on the website. We have international tutors for all of the disciplines, I think, with the exception of tenor horn. We couldn't find anybody that was at the same level as our tenor horn tutor, so we didn't get one, Owen Farr. Obviously, brass band instruments are very important for us. We're kind of geographically situated in the heart of brass band world in Manchester. And we have a lot of students that come to us, a significant number within the school, that are specialists in those, might be termed brass band instruments. To help and support our students in that area, we're very fortunate to have Dr. David Thornton, who is a senior tutor in brass band and directs many of the ensemble projects in the brass band. So I'd like to ask David, please, if you'd come in and tell us just a little bit about brass band activities.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Nick. I'll be very brief. So the brass band is active throughout the year. There might not be brass band activity within the school every single week of the year, but there are kind of performance projects and study projects throughout the year. We do leave gaps because we like our brass band students to have the most rounded version of their education as well. So we can make sure that you're experiencing things outside of that bubble as well as the very important bits inside. We're very lucky to have two international chairs in brass band studies, David King and James Gourlay, fantastic personalities and educators and conductors and musicians, more importantly, in the brass band world. Activities for the brass band throughout the year might range from performance projects to repertoire sessions. Last year we had Edward Gregson come in and work on one of his brand new pieces with the band, which was a fascinating thing to do, working with composers from within the college. There were also brass band tutorials, which might cover kind of brass band related pedagogy and following on from the chamber music work that Rob's doing with the groups and performance skills and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot going on, and as in my session later on, I'll also be joined by our senior cornet tutor Roger Webster, as well as a few of the brass band students to help answer queries, and I'll give a few more details at that point about brass band, what you might expect from brass band activity throughout the year.
Lovely, thank you, David. Yeah, just to reinforce what David said there, although we might talk about these students as playing brass band instruments, we expect them to kind of diversify, to be engaged in all genres of performance during their time at college. One of the key things distinguishing for RNCM is our professional experience schemes. PES is a key part of training at RNCM, and it gives our students a unique opportunity to experience training and workshops alongside industry professionals in real-world situations. The offer at RNCM is unmatched anywhere in the world in the quality and variety of opportunities. We have opportunities for students to work with the Halle Orchestra, BBC Phil, Opera North, Chamber Orchestra of Europe, Metropolitan Orchestra from Holland, Mahler Chamber Orchestra, Netherlands Wind Orchestra, Academy of Ancient Music, Liverpool Philharmonic and Black Dyke Band. Currently, there's some of the PES schemes. And it's quite normal. A lot of those schemes are based around an audition process to get in. But these give our students an amazing opportunity to bridge the world between being a student and working a professional life. They have opportunities to demonstrate their skills to future colleagues and quite often to fixers, which is very important in terms of getting future employment. I read recently, I think there was a figure of 80% of all the members in the orchestras of the Northwest are RNCM alumni. That includes Halle Principal Flute Amy Yule, BBC Philharmonic Jenny Galloway on oboe, and Murray Gregg, who's been in the Opera North for a very long time and just left his post. So look out for that job. The final thing I want to talk about today is RNCM's commitment to longevity in your career and health and well-being as a professional. Health and well-being training is integrated in everything that we do at RNCM. Very often before opera rehearsal, there'll be sessions with someone. You're going to have 6 or 9 hours in a pit. You'll be doing some stretching and some warm-ups and just physical care and attention. And RNCM is the first conservatoire anywhere in the world to appoint a full-time health professional, psychologist Sarah Ascenso, to the team of staff to support students in building healthy practices for their professional lives. In addition to that, the college has a full spectrum, a range of support professionals in counselling and other health and well-being practices. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the nitty-gritty stuff about SWBP at RNCM, and I'm now going to open up for a few questions. We're already 6 minutes overdue, so there will be opportunities to ask questions to all of us here on the panel today, David, Simone, Kevin, Rob and myself later in the specialist sections that you've got links to go to. So if we could keep these, if you could just put your thumbs up or clap a hand so that we can see, or just unmute and
they're putting questions in the chat actually, Nick, which is quite useful. If we all open the chat up, we can see the questions and just field them.
Okay. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask openly for everyone?
Shall I read a couple of these questions out that we've not managed to answer on the chat, Nick? So maybe we can address those. There's one that Leanne Baker's asking: will Corona affect the audition process?
Yes, it will, but this year. But I'm not sure that it will for the following year. Hopefully not. This year we're going to do all of our auditions will be run online, and we'll run that through the accepted platform and UCAS and we actually do that for a lot of our students anyway. It's very successful. Students upload recordings with all their documentation and support statements, and in addition to that we'll be running interviews online similarly through this kind of platform so that we get to know about you as well as how you
Bluetooth.
There's another question here from Izzy. Says, do you require someone to have grade 5 theory before auditioning?
That I don't know. I'll be absolutely honest, I don't know. Does any of my colleagues know for sure?
I would have thought so. I think the minimum requirements are like grade 8 and grade 5 theory, grade 8 practical or something, I think.
Yeah.
It'll be on the website.
You're normally required to
do... grade 8, aren't you, David? Well, I won't do it now.
You're normally required to do an online theory test on the day of an audition, and we will be continuing with that mechanism through the online platform too, at least for this year. We're all hoping that we'll be back in the building as soon as possible, of course, within the restrictions of social distancing.
And just continuing the theme of auditions, are there any specific things that auditioners or interviewers look for, such as peripheral curricular activities, summer schools, being in a junior department, for flute in particular, Kevin?
Excellent question, thank you very much. And I'll be talking about the whole audition process in this afternoon's session, so I hope you can come along and you'll be there. We put a really great importance on the interview part of the audition. And it's so that we can find out about you, but it's also that you can find out about us. So all of this will come up in the interview part of the audition. And as much as you can tell about yourself to us, then that's great.
Yeah, just to reinforce that, if I can, there's always a member of the senior team on the audition panel, and we're all agreed that one of the key things for us is the personality that you show in your performances. We know we have the skills and we have a dedicated staff to teach you how to play your instruments very successfully. They're very practiced at it, they're very, very good at it. But what we need from you is a real expression of your character, and we want to know that you have something to say. Very important. And we try to develop that all the way through the program. Thank you. And then,
There's continuing on the auditions line. If auditions online, will it be acceptable to play unaccompanied? I think the answer to that is yes.
Yes, we're currently, our normal requirements for audition in the building would be that we would probably ask you to play a first movement of a classical concerto plus a piece of your own choice. There's some scale requirements too, but obviously as we look to online, we would like to, we'll probably change the repertoire that we ask you to play. We're working on that at the moment for the auditions that are coming up in the autumn, and there'll be studies and things that we're used to working from are probably around grade 8 and above. But you'll probably know the repertoire, and you would be sent it well in advance. It'll be very accessible. We're very conscious that we don't want to allow any of the kind of COVID-19 restrictions and the shift to online to disadvantage anyone. If there are problems with anyone who plays the tuba or not having space in their building to at home to play or perform, then you would be offered an audition in the building. Particularly for percussion, for example, if you don't have all of those instruments sitting at home, we require snare drum, tuned percussion and timpani at audition. And obviously we don't expect that everybody has that sitting around at home, so we would do everything we can to get you into the building or into a local music services. If our team can arrange that in your area, we'll also make sure that happens for you.
There's another question again. Auditions, will the auditions be delayed because of this?
I don't think there's a plan to delay them at the moment. We're planning to run them around the same kind of time schedule, and the deadlines for UCAS and all that will remain the same.
Yeah, and I think there's Izzy again. What would you say when you said auditions will be online? This will be for the 2021 cohort. That is yes. So, for entry September 2021. Auditions online.
Yeah.
This coming period. Have I missed any of those questions? I think that's all of them. I think.
Good. Well, I think unless anyone has anything they'd like to open up and ask face to face, so to speak, then I'll draw this session to a close. I know that you've got another session to go to. Thank you very much for visiting SWVP on our virtual open day today, and I hope that you had all the information that you required. Thanks to my colleagues for helping too. And I'm going to close this session with a very short video of our brass band, actually, and it's part of their performance in the Unibrass competition. They won it 3 times on the trot in and this is from the 2019 competition, I think. So it's very short, but I think it's a kind of good signal about the larger ensembles that happen in RNCM. But in this case, again, the same as all the other videos that you've seen today, these are completely student-led activities. We haven't been able to show you anything in terms of big ensembles, symphony orchestras, chamber orchestras, all that kind of thing. So we wanted to show you things that were really driven and directed by students. Thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you later in the afternoon on our individual sessions. Thank you. Bravo. Thank you very much, everyone. See you later today.